Oh, Sarah's here? Is that all? Prudence drawled, the honeyed tone of her voice sharp enough to cut glass. She didn't even bother turning, her perfectly sculpted blonde bob remaining fixed on the gaggle of relatives clinging to the Bellwether family Christmas tree like moths to a flame. And what a tree it was! Ostentatious barely covered it. The ornaments, I couldn't help but notice, looked suspiciously like they'd been borrowed directly from Bergdorf Goodman. Or maybe even outright stolen. It wouldn't have surprised me. Prudence always had a knack for acquiring things, legality be damned. Honestly, Mother, Prudence continued, her voice carrying just enough to ensure I heard every saccharine syllable, I don't know why she bothers showing up. It's not as though she contributes anything. Just sits in the corner with her little coding projects. So unbecoming. A ripple of laughter, brittle and cruel, spread through the group, bouncing off the ridiculously high ceilings of the ancestral home. A house, let's be honest, that was mostly financed by Great-Aunt Mildred's incredibly shady, probably illegal investments, not some mythical Bellwether family fortune passed down through generations of upstanding citizens. Mildred, bless her soul or maybe not, had a nose for making money, morals be damned. My cheeks burned with a familiar sting, but I forced my expression to remain neutral, a carefully constructed mask of indifference. Let them laugh. Let Prudence bask in her self-proclaimed glory. They thought they had one. They thought they had relegated me to the sidelines, the awkward brainy family member who never quite fit in with their polished superficial world. They had no idea how spectacularly wrong they were. I wasn't the same Sarah they remembered anymore. Years of being the family doormat had finally hardened into something else. A small, almost imperceptible smile played on my lips. "Merry Christmas, everyone," I said, my voice calm and even, deliberately devoid of emotion. "I have a little surprise for you all later tonight. Make sure you keep your schedules clear because it's right next door." Prudence finally deigned to turn, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arching in disdain. The light caught the diamond studs in her ears, each one probably worth more than my car. "Next door? What on earth could you possibly have next door, Sarah? Another one of your computers." The way she said computers dripped with so much condescension it could have dissolved metal. She saw my coding as a hobby, a childish pursuit, not a legitimate career. That was fine. Let her believe that. "You'll see," I replied, my smile widening, a genuine flash of teeth. "You'll all see." Then I turned on my heel and walked out, leaving them to their champagne and petty insults. Let them think they had the upper hand. Tonight, the game would change. And I, Seraphina Bellwether, would be the one dealing the cards. And let me tell you, I had a full house, and Prudence was about to be holding a pair of twos. Growing up, I was always the quiet one, the bookworm buried in the corner while Prudence reigned supreme, a glittering queen on her throne of privilege. She was the beautiful, popular one, destined, according to carefully cultivated family lore, to marry well, read, marry rich, and uphold the Bellwether name, read, maintain the family's social standing. I, on the other hand, was just Sarah. The brainy one, the one who didn't quite grasp the intricacies of social maneuvering or the latest fashion trends. I was more comfortable with algorithms and datasets than designer labels and social graces. Prudence made damn sure I never forgot my supposed place in the Bellwether hierarchy. Every Christmas it was the same song and dance. Backhanded compliments disguised as concern, subtle jabs at my career choice that were anything but subtle, and the constant underlying reminder that I wasn't living up to the Bellwether standard. Last year was particularly brutal. Prudence, in her infinite cruelty, had orchestrated a secret Santa gift exchange, and I ended up with a goddamn Career for Dummies book while she, of course, received a diamond necklace that probably cost more than my apartment. The passive aggression was practically weaponized. But I wasn't just some pushover, despite what they liked to believe. I had ambition, drive, and a knack for seeing opportunities where others saw only obstacles. While Prudence was busy attending galas, and probably sleeping with half the attendees, and marrying her way through the upper echelons of society, I was building my career, one line of code at a time. I poured all my energy, all my frustration, into my work, creating software solutions that were not only innovative but also in incredibly high demand. I was quietly building an empire, while she was busy polishing hers. My secret weapon? Pure, unadulterated spite. And a healthy dose of savings. Years of hard work, frugal living, mostly out of necessity, And a shrewd investment or two had resulted in a substantial nest egg. Enough, in fact, to buy something that would shock them all to their core, something that would shatter their carefully constructed image of me as the meek, insignificant Sarah. 3 months ago, almost as if the universe was conspiring in my favor, I noticed the old Victorian house next door to Bellwether Manor was finally up for sale. It had been dilapidated for years, a Gothic eyesore in the otherwise pristine Stepfordesque neighborhood. Everyone, including Prudence, assumed it was beyond repair, a lost cause. But I saw potential. I saw opportunity. And, most importantly, I saw the perfect way to finally silence Prudence and her cronies. I bought it. Cash. No mortgage, no loans, no asking for favors. Just pure, unadulterated Serafina Bellwethern money. The look on the realtor's face when I signed the check was almost as satisfying as the look I knew Prudence would have when she found out. While the Bellwethers were busy planning their usual lavish, utterly predictable Christmas, I was secretly renovating the house next door, transforming it from a dilapidated wreck into a festive wonderland, a glittering palace of my own creation. I hired the best designers, the best caterers, and the best entertainment money could buy. I kept everything under wraps, telling no one, not even my closest friends. Let Prudence and her cronies continue to underestimate me. Their ignorance would be their downfall. And trust me, their downfall was going to be spectacular. The weeks leading up to Christmas were a whirlwind of activity, a frantic dance between my demanding work and the clandestine renovation project. I fueled myself on copious amounts of coffee, sheer willpower, and the burning desire to prove them all wrong. Sleep was a luxury I could barely afford. I saw Prudence a few times during this period. She would often stop by while I was supposedly tending to my garden, actually overseeing the landscaping crew install a state-of-the-art sound system in the backyard that could probably vibrate the foundations of Bellwether Manor, and offer her condescending advice on everything from the proper way to prune roses, as if I gave a damn about roses, to the importance of a well-structured investment portfolio. The irony was almost unbearable. Honestly, Sarah, she would say, her voice dripping with mock concern that was as fake as her tan, you really should think about diversifying your assets. Putting all your eggs in one basket is so risky. She always had to sprinkle in these little subtle digs. She thought I was being reckless, spending all my money on one big-ticket item. She had no clue. I would just smile and nod, letting her think she was getting to me, letting her revel in her perceived superiority. Inside I was seething, but I knew I had to remain calm. The element of surprise was absolutely crucial. If she suspected anything, the whole plan would fall apart. It was like a carefully constructed program. One wrong line of code and the whole thing would crash. The day before Christmas, the renovation was finally, gloriously complete. The house was unrecognizable. It had been transformed from a crumbling eyesore into a sparkling jewel box, a testament to what hard work, determination, and a healthy dose of spite could accomplish. It boasted a grand ballroom fit for royalty, or at least the Bellwether version of royalty, a gourmet kitchen that would make any chef weep with joy, and a roaring fireplace in every room, each one meticulously decorated with tasteful, elegant touches. The decorations were a far cry from the gaudy, over-the-top display at Bellwether Manor. Mine was stylish, refined, and dare I say sophisticated. Hers was just loud. I made sure the caterers, handpicked from the best in the city, were on standby. The bartenders were prepped and ready to mix a mean martini, and the entertainment, a live jazz band flown in from New Orleans, was ready to set the mood. I even hired a professional photographer to capture every perfect moment, to document the look on Prudence's face when she finally saw what I had accomplished. Digital evidence of my triumph. As I watched the final touches being put in place, as the last ornament was hung and the last glass was polished, I allowed myself a moment of pure, unadulterated satisfaction. I had done it. I had taken their negativity, their condescension, their endless stream of insults, and turned it into something beautiful, something triumphant, something mine. I had built a fortress of fabulousness on the foundation of their doubt. Back to the present. After making my grand exit from Bellwether Manor, I spent the afternoon making sure everything was absolutely perfect at my house. The lights were dim just so. The music was playing softly in the background, a seductive invitation. And the aroma of roasted chestnuts and gingerbread filled the air, a comforting, festive scent that even the most jaded Bellwether couldn't resist. As the clock struck 8, the moment I had been waiting for, I sent a simple text message to every member of the Bellwether family. The party's next door. Come if you dare. Prepare to be amazed. I punctuated it with a winking emoji just to add a touch of playful menace. I stood by the front door, my heart pounding in my chest, waiting for the first guests to arrive. It wasn't long before I saw a group of figures approaching, huddled together for warmth and support, led by none other than Prudence Bellwether herself. Her face was a mask of confusion, uncertainty, and barely concealed annoyance. She was clearly not pleased that her carefully planned Christmas was being disrupted. "Good. Sarah, what is the meaning of this?" she demanded, her voice sharp and accusatory, the tone she usually reserved for the help. "What have you done to this house?" "I bought it," I said simply, my voice calm and confident, laced with a hint of steel. "And I renovated it. And tonight, I'm throwing a Christmas party." I paused for effect, enjoying the dawning horror on her face. "Welcome to my home." I gestured grandly towards the open door, inviting them to step into my world, the world I had created in secret, the world that was about to shatter their illusions. The look on Prudence's face was priceless, a masterpiece of shock and disbelief. Her jaw dropped, her eyes widened to the size of saucers, and her perfectly applied makeup seemed to crack under the sheer weight of her humiliation. The other family members gasped and murmured, their faces equally stunned, a mixture of awe and envy. They looked like they'd just walked into a completely different dimension. They slowly filed into the house, their eyes darting around in disbelief, taking in every detail, every perfectly placed decoration, every subtle nuance of the design. They couldn't reconcile the glamorous, sophisticated space with the image they had of me, the quiet, unassuming software engineer who never made waves. The jazz band struck up a lively tune, filling the air with a warm, inviting rhythm, and the caterers began circulating with trays of champagne and exquisitely crafted hors d'oeuvres. Slowly, hesitantly, the Bellwethers began to relax and enjoy themselves. They mingled, they laughed, they even complimented me on the decorations and the food, their surprise evident in every word. They were actually having fun. Prudence, however, remained frozen, standing near the doorway like a statue carved from ice, her face a toxic mixture of anger, humiliation, and a dawning realization that she had severely underestimated me. She watched as her carefully constructed facade of perfection crumbled before her very eyes as her carefully controlled narrative of the Bellwether family Christmas imploded. Finally, she approached me, her voice trembling with barely suppressed rage, her carefully maintained composure threatening to shatter completely. "How could you do this, Sarah?" she hissed, grabbing my arm with surprising force. "You've embarrassed me in front of the entire family." "Embarrassed you?" I replied, my voice low and steady, my gaze unflinching. "Prudence, you've been embarrassing me my entire life. Tonight, I'm simply showing you that I'm not the pushover you think I am. I've worked hard for my success and I'm not ashamed of it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn to appreciate me for who I am, not what you think I should be." It was a challenge, a gauntlet thrown down. The atmosphere in the room shifted palpably. The music seemed to fade slightly, and the chatter died down as all eyes turned to Prudence and me, the two Bellwether women locked in a silent battle of wills. The family held its collective breath, waiting to see how Prudence would react, waiting for the explosion they all knew was coming. For a moment, I thought she might actually explode, unleashing a torrent of accusations and insults that would shatter the fragile peace of the party. Her face was red, her fists were clenched so tightly her knuckles were white, and her eyes were blazing with fury, the flames of her wounded pride threatening to consume her. But then something surprising, something completely unexpected, happened. Her shoulders slumped, the tension seemed to drain out of her body, and the anger in her eyes began to dissipate, replaced by a flicker of something I couldn't quite identify. Was that regret? I didn't realize, she said softly, her voice barely a whisper, the proud, arrogant tone replaced by something almost vulnerable. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I truly am." The apology was completely unexpected, a seismic shift in our relationship. Years of resentment, years of hurt, began to dissipate, replaced by a flicker of hope, a fragile possibility that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. The Ice Queen was melting. Hopefully the new her would be someone I could actually respect. The rest of the evening passed without incident. Prudence even helped me refill champagne glasses, offering genuine compliments about the party, and even my dress, and engaging in surprisingly insightful conversations with the other guests. The other family members, sensing the shift in the dynamic, were warm and supportive, showering me with praise and heartfelt apologies for their past behavior. It was almost nice. Bellwether Manor was practically empty that night, apparently. Everyone was at my home, celebrating, laughing, and finally accepting me for who I was. And it stayed that way for years to come. Guess who hosted the Christmas celebration after that? Hint, it wasn't Prudence. A few years have passed since that fateful Christmas party, and the landscape of the Bellwether family has changed dramatically. Prudence and I have actually become quite close, something I never would have thought possible. She's even admitted that she was jealous of my independence, my success, and my ability to forge my own path, unburdened by the weight of family expectations. It turns out, beneath the icy exterior, there was a real person struggling to find her own identity. She now runs a highly successful charity that supports women in STEM fields, inspiring young girls to pursue their passions in science and technology, regardless of societal pressures. She credits her inspiration, she says, to my example, to my unwavering determination to succeed in a male-dominated world. Seeing her actively mentoring and empowering young women makes me profoundly proud of the woman she has become. Bellwether Manor still stands, a monument to tradition and family history, a reminder of the past. But now it's just one of two houses in the Bellwether family, and both are treated with equal respect. The old Victorian, once a symbol of my rebellion, has become a hub for family gatherings, a place where memories are made and traditions are challenged. I learned a valuable lesson that Christmas, a lesson that has shaped my life in profound ways. Never underestimate yourself, and never let others define your worth. Your value is not determined by your social standing, your career choice, or your family's expectations. It's determined by your own actions, your own achievements, and your own inner strength. So, embrace your unique talents, pursue your passions with unwavering determination, and never be afraid to shine, even if it means outshining those who try to dim your light. Because sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living well and proving them all wrong. And trust me, the satisfaction is sweeter than any champagne.